When I first created this channel was for number one, opinions about video games, and number two, about like reactions to new news and new things coming to video games. But lately, the new thing to me has been playing a lot of Battlefield 6 and trying to get better at it. And in my time, I have found a bunch of little tiny tips that you can immediately do to either know something more about the game or immediately be better. And this is kind of what happens when I immerse myself in a game, stream it with you guys on stream. I get better, and I want you guys to get better too. So I put together this video. If you like this type of video, show me by hitting that like button, maybe subscribing to the channel, and maybe we do this with Battlefield, because there's definitely more than 101 things like this. Or maybe we do it with like Arc Raiders when that comes out, and then Black Ops 7 when that comes out. I don't know. Just let me know if you like it. And quite literally, here are 101 Battlefield 6 tips to help you immediately improve at the game. So we're gonna have to start with some settings. The settings in this game are brutal. So first things first, just one thing you can do that'll immediately make your game easier to see is in your color presets. So this is the base presets. Have a look over here on the right. If I switch this over to custom, you'll notice that I've changed them so that they're all darker, all easier to see and all easier to recognize. The other one that you can do is make your neutral color yellow. To me, I didn't like it, but some people do that one as well. If you are using a controller and you are having trouble aiming, turn off your adaptive triggers and turn off your vibration. I know it might feel nice, like your girlfriend says, but I promise you it'll make your aim worse. Now, moving into controller settings, if you are using a controller, if you go into edit your controller settings, you can go right in and change a bunch of things. One thing that you're probably going to want to do is change some of your presets. So that comes into control mapping. We're going to go into some specific control mapping you want to do, but the piece of advice that I could give you is, personally, I prefer my crouch button on my thumbstick. The reason why I like my crouch button on my thumbstick, so sprint on my left, crouch on my right, is because then all of my movement is controlled by my thumbsticks and my buttons do everything else. Now I'm going to separate the aiming settings to a couple different things. I personally play controllers, so this one's for controller players. My aim sensitivity, I keep right at 40. If it's a little too much for you, drop it down a little bit. Field of view, you're gonna, I think, want at least 110 if you ask me. And vertical aim ratio, just keep that at 56 and do not touch it. Now, in your actual aim settings, this is what I would recommend. It does not have to be this, except for a couple things. I truly believe your zoom sensitivity coefficient needs to be at 178. The infantry aim assist slowdown. This is probably the most important setting to make things feel good. Put it at 70, leave it at 70. You will, for infantry aim input curve, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4. For stick input acceleration, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, and Bad Company. And then this one, you're gonna have to mess around with. I like feeling it at 0. It makes me feel a little bit snappier. I think if you go any higher than 12, it doesn't feel good anymore. Those are just my opinions. Now, the other one in the controller settings is way down at the bottom. When you go into controller tuning, the next most important thing is the dead zones. So the top numbers, the center dead zones and axial dead zones, you will have to kind of find for yourself. This is what has worked for me on my left and right stick. However, the ones that you're going to want to keep the same is the max input thresholds. For your left stick, put it 60, and for your right stick, put it 90. These ones you'll kind of have to test for yourself. Also, this setting's a little bit broken as they have the dead zone set improperly as rectangles instead of circles for the controller. It's a whole other thing, something to talk about in a different video. Now, something that'll make your game immediately look and play better is the camera settings here. Weapon motion blur down to 0, world motion blur down to 0. All of these off, and I don't know why all of them are on by default, but you do that, it is going to feel better. Now, the last piece of advice I can give you on aiming is if you have VSync on, turn it off. This was the last piece of the puzzle to me to make my aim actually feel good. Now, one that I've seen a lot of people miss is down in the mini map. You can actually make your mini map bigger, therefore making it easier to see people on your mini map. Depending on whether you like your mini map to rotate or not, or how much opacity it actually has, you can completely change how it looks. However, you still can't move it into the top left corner if you're a Call of Duty player. So let's start with some basics, how getting killed and getting revived actually works in game. Now, being downed, you have a countdown for how long you can be revived for. However, you can make that longer by holding square, pressing request for a revive. You only have to hold it once, and it will extend that timer to a huge extent. Keep in mind, it's a good idea to do this because even if I skip it, there's a minimum 10-second cooldown to simply get back into the game. Now, as far as reviving, not all ways are made equal. The slowest way to do so is by grabbing someone and dragging them. That is going to take a little bit longer than standing still and reviving someone. That's going to be a little bit quicker. Now, I am playing as a support or medic, and that means both of those actions are faster for me playing this class. But there's also another way for me to revive people as a medic, and that is with the defab paddles. Either I can press it once, quickly revive someone, and they come back at half health, or I can hold the paddles, and when I revive them, they come back at full health. So a couple movement mechanics that are pretty neat. So it's pretty traditional first-person shooter movement. Sprinting, you hold on to the sprint button, but there's also another type of sprinting. If I crouch and I push forward, I stay crouched. But if I hold sprint, I don't stand up. I actually stay crouched and continue to sprint. There is one other movement mechanic that I find very underutilized in this game, and that is the roll. So this will be used in an area like this where I'm going to fall from an area that I would take fall damage. If I fall and right before press the jump button twice, I will take much less fall damage, if any, and can actually save your life. Now, one of the best ways to level up or unlock things in game is through the challenge system. So some of these include reviving teammates, healing teammates, repairing vehicles. But here's the thing, they don't always work. So how do you fix that? So one of the challenges, for example, is to repair vehicles. Now, repairing vehicles, as you can see here, as I do so, I should be getting XP down in the bottom left for repairing said vehicle. However, I was not getting any. So the only way to fix that is to restart your game. So unfortunately, you have to back out of the game, close the game completely, leave, come back in. So if it's showing you XP while doing something, for example, repairing a vehicle or healing your teammates, then you will be getting progress towards those challenges. Otherwise, leave the game, close it out, go back in, make sure it's tracking. So another way to try to fix these challenges not tracking, the one that's broken for me right now, is healing teammates. I'm stuck at 4159, so we're almost there, but not quite. Is to go to the server browser, and they made this more difficult because anything with bots now does not track challenges. So you have to find a server that does not have bots. So for example, this one has 15 people in it. It says rush. As you can see, everything has 100%. That's what you're looking for. And then you press join the server. So here's someone that we can heal. Throw a bag down on them. As you can see, we supplied them. And now if we look at our challenges, we are at 4208. For this next part, we're going to go through each and every class, all 4 of them, and go over some more specific things that you might not know about the class. Starting out with Assault, one of the things that you should know is that assault rifles are more proficient. What you do is faster draw times with assault rifles, in other words, faster ADS, and faster sprint to fire times. Compared to some of the other classes, this is one of the weaker benefits in my opinion, but assault rifles will be a bit better on this class. As far as the training path goes, which one is better depends on how you are playing. Really, the only 2 stats that matter is for the Breacher. This one, the Agile Shooter, where you can move faster while shooting. The other one for Frontliner is faster health recovery. So in other words, if you don't have a good medic playing with you, this one will probably be more beneficial. So as far as Assault goes and their gear interactions, there isn't too many cool ones. However, one you should probably know about is the deploy beacon. So if I hop around here, drop a deploy beacon, and then go out and eventually die. Basically, the way that it works is each member on my team can spawn on it once. After that, they cannot spawn on it. So it's actually most beneficial for me to respawn on the deploy beacon every single time, because then I can just drop another one down and each team member spawn on it once again. So the assault ladder is traditionally used to get to an area that's kind of more difficult to get to. But there's also another thing that's interesting about the assault ladder, and that is that if you have a teammate that goes on it, I was hoping that teammate would, but you'll actually get points for them using your ladder. So I'm hoping my teammate follows me up here. There you go, 5 points used. So it's another way to get XP as well. Now, as far as the adrenaline injector, it's another piece of equipment. It is used, if I use it right now, it'll actually speed up my movement and allow me to move a little bit faster. But it also stops status effects. So if someone throws a flashbang or concussion at you, use this and that will go away. Now, before we dive into engineer, just one other thing that I can show you. If you actually go over and click custom here and then edit your class, let's just say we change our weapon, you are able to have multiple custom loadouts under each class. Therefore, you won't have to go and edit your class every single time. You can just have a couple set up in advance, and that should save you some time. As far as engineers go, your repair tool we will get to in a minute, but your signature weapon is an SMG, which has improved hipfire control when playing as engineer. Honestly, again, on the weaker side of the weapon proficiencies, but good to know that that works that way. Now, between the two training paths, the most important perks is as anti-armor, you have devastating impact, which if you damage enemy vehicles, it reduces their repair effectiveness by 50% for 10 seconds, which allows your team to get more damage on the vehicle and able to kill them faster. However, as combat engineer, there's a couple interesting things. First of all, gadget fortification, which you're actually able to repair friendly gadgets above their maximum health. Also, when you simply occupy a vehicle, its health automatically starts to regenerate. That's an extremely powerful tool. So basically, anti-armor is for taking out vehicles, and combat engineer is for driving vehicles. So as engineer, one of your main roles is repairing vehicles. So there's one easy tip to help with that. If you are using the repair tool, simply don't let it overheat. If I go all the way and let this thing overheat, you have to reload your repair tool, which takes quite a bit of time. A much faster way to do it is repair a little bit and let go. Simply don't let it overheat. The other thing that you can do to repair your vehicle is use the EOD bot. Now this thing, you just get close to your vehicle and it works essentially exactly like you, where you can repair your teammates' vehicles. But that's not the only use for it, including damage vehicles and damage people. And for some reason, people just don't seem to notice it. So if I am using a lock-on launcher, I will not be able to lock onto a ground vehicle, like that for example, unless it is painted by a teammate with a laser designator. We'll get to that one in a little bit. Now, another piece of equipment that I have here is something called a supply crate. Now, what it is used for is you place it down and it'll actually automatically repair a nearby vehicle. However, there's another thing you can do. See, I cannot mantle on top of this vehicle. However, if I step on top of the crate and then up onto the vehicle, you can use it to get to higher areas. Now, quite frankly, the vehicle supply cache isn't all that great, but what it can do is if no one on your team wants to heal your vehicle, it will heal your vehicle for you. As you can see, it increase, but it's much slower than your vehicle, but it also gives you more ammo as well. So basically, it's something for if no one else on your team wants to fix up your vehicle. When it comes to mines, not all mines are made equal. For the first one, you have the AV mine. This one, a vehicle has to drive right over and it will kill it. For the PTKM, it has a much larger range. When a vehicle gets near it, it'll shoot up in the air and deal about a third to a quarter of the tank's health. And then the final one is the tripwire sensor AV mine, which is kind of a combination between the two, where it has a little bit more range and deals a little bit more damage, but not quite as much as the AV mine. When you're playing engineer, you probably are using an SMG and it doesn't have very much range. But if you switch over to the RPG, it essentially functions as a sniper with AoE damage. Boom, just like that. So there is a lot when it comes to medic. First things first, if we look at the details, the number one gadget's the supply bag, which we'll get to in a minute. The second thing is the LMG proficiency, so faster transition to aim down sights and no sprint speed penalty when carrying LMGs. That's a big problem if you use an LMG with another class. I think this is actually one of the better benefits as far as signature weapons goes. Then the signature trait, which nobody talks about, the squad supplies. I'll show you how that works in game. So one of the most underutilized things in this entire game, I think, is medics. So I can do this and then throw down a med kit and it will give me health, it'll give me ammo, so on and so forth. However, let's say, for example, I do not have a med bag. I can go over to my medic, press square, and pick up supplies, and it'll immediately start my health regen and give me ammo as well. As far as the training path goes, this one, the combat medic, this is the good one. First of all, you have faster revive times, which is 2.5 seconds quicker. You have revive recovery, which actually triggers you healing when you revive someone, as well as defense focused, which gives you a faster resupply rate on things, for example, like a trophy system. The fire support one, I think, really sucks. You have steady aim when mounted. You have more explosive resistance when mounted, and faster ammo resupply when using supply bags. That is it. I don't see any point in using fire support whatsoever. Now, honestly, one of the cheesiest ways to defend an objective is with a mortar. So this is a piece of equipment that you can use as a support, and as you can see, I can just sit in the background and kind of just lob things onto an objective, and it suppresses enemies as well as deals damage to them, and you basically just have to do nothing. So if I am using the mortar and I don't know what range to shoot at, if I ping down that far, it'll show me the distance of how far that person is, and then I can go in my mortar, adjust it to 140 meters, for example, and then start shooting at that range, because we know at that range, that is where people are going to be. Now, by the time you shoot, they may have moved, but for some objectives, as you can see right there, we're shooting at 137 meters, and I'm getting enemy suppression because we know the distance that those enemies are. So another piece of equipment is the deployable cover. So basically you put it down and it blocks incoming damage. But again, like the supply cache or vehicle supply cache, you can jump on top of it and then use this to get to higher areas as well. For example, I can't normally climb this wall, but with this here, you can climb on top and then jump on top of a wall. Now, as far as when you were playing medics, smoke grenades are one of the most useful things you can use. The reason why I say that is if we have a teammate go down, you just throw smoke, pop out your paddles, get the revive, and it gives you and them some time to get to safety, if you're not on fire. Now, one thing that you just really don't have to waste your time on is something that I tried to do is there are trophy systems as well as rockets that I tried to place onto vehicles. It doesn't work. Like you can't place the things that block rockets or grenades or anything like that on any vehicles. It doesn't work. I thought it'd be cool. It doesn't. And I mean, I guess the last thing for support is maybe if you're coming from another first-person shooter, LMGs kind of get a bad name as not a very good weapon. First of all, the LMGs are really good in this game, and if you're playing as support, you don't have the same sort of downside, so it ends up working out even better. And one thing that I forgot to mention, and I guess I should, is you move faster if you have a melee weapon out, obviously. Also, defibs, you move a lot faster with those as well. Now, as far as recon, there's a lot to talk about in this one, but snipers, we will get to snipers. There's a lot you need to know about snipers. They deserve their own section. First things first, though, as a recon, you have access to a motion sensor, which we'll get to in-game. Then you have sniper rifle proficiency, which is improved marksmanship skills, including reduced weapon sway, quicker rechambering speed, and better breath control. This is the best signature weapon by a long shot. That reduced idle sway is the biggest thing of all. Also, your signature trait, looking at hostiles while aiming down sights, will spot them, marking their position in the world on the mini-map for all team members. Time required to spot is dependent on factors such as movement and zoom level. So there's a couple things you should know about that, but again, we will get to that in game, but it's a good trait. So I do believe that the sniper proficiency is a little bit better. You get enhanced perception, which makes it easier to spot people, as well as target acquired. Inflicting damage on enemies spots them on the map and reveals their position. And finally, kill confirmed. If you shoot someone in the head, they're dead, they can't be revived. Spec Ops, on the other hand, is different. First off, you have stealth tactics, which is reduced sound you make when crouched or prone, which is really the only way to reduce your sound in game. As well as gadget awareness, you can spot nearby enemy gadgets, and low profile going prone clears your in combat state 1.5 seconds faster and reduces your spotted status duration by 30%. So it's easier to hide. I truly believe the sniper one's a little bit better. So one of the best pieces of gear is this little drone right here. For spotting enemies, you get a ton of score for just spotting enemies. As you can see, I'm getting squad spot assists as I spot these people, as well as just spotting enemies gives me score as well. Anytime anyone on my team kills anyone that's spotted, I get extra score. And with very little skill, it is very easy to just rack up a ton of score. So just another side note about the recon drone, I would probably say this might be the easiest way to get XP and score in the game. Basically just fly this thing near an objective and give Overwatch to your team. You're going to get points for spotting enemies. You're going to get points for assists that the enemies that you spot. And it's extremely easy to do so. And it helps out your team. Now, another piece of equipment that we have is the motion sensor. You can throw this one down and it will give you a very limited kind of mini UAV on your mini map that will just show you if any enemies are nearby and kind of give you an idea of what you're working with. So remember how we were talking about spotting vehicles before? Well, there's actually two ways to do it. One is with a laser designator, which we have here, which you plant down on the ground, and then you press the button and control it, and you will look through and you can spot enemies through this thing, which is another good way to do so. But you can also spot vehicles, which it looks like they have a helo right there, and then you pull the trigger to paint it. And now, if that was a ground vehicle or an air vehicle, people are more easily able to lock on and see the vehicles. There's another one, there's a tank, boom, that one's spotted too. There's another one, there's another tank, boom, that's spotted too. So now people can use these auto aim launchers to then lock onto the vehicles. There is another way to do it, and that is with a tracer dart. This is unlocked later on down the tree. As far as the tracer dart goes, you just shoot it at a vehicle and it paints it instead of having to place down the laser designator and do it that way. So, sniping. I've got a bunch of tips for this one, so hear me out. First things first, in Battlefield, there is quite a substantial amount of bullet drop. Now, to understand it, you have to understand how your sniper is zeroed. So right now, my sniper will shoot to where I am aiming up to 100 meters. I can see that down in the bottom right. Now, here's the thing. That A flag over there is much more than 100 meters. Much more. In fact, it is around 250 meters. So I can switch my sniper scope to about 200 meters, and then when I shoot, it'll be zeroed at about 200 meters. I don't know how that person healed, but there you go. Now I can change this up to 300 meters, 400 meters, 500 meters, and so on and so forth. So that's how basic sniping works. Also, when there's bullet drop, you need to lead your bullet a little bit. So as they're moving forward, I need to aim where they're going, for example. This guy's teabagging someone, but you see how that works. So there's bullet drop, there's bullet lead, all of those kind of things. But there's a way you can pretty much make your sniper hit scan with a particular attachment. Now, this attachment is going to be your left accessory on your sniper, and that is going to be a rangefinder. And it says, press to set the weapon's scope zeroing to the distance of where your crosshair is aimed. So the exact distance that you are aiming at. So if we put this on and then go back to sniping. So now you can see that when I have my rangefinder set up, say I'm sniping at someone all the way over there, they're not at 200 meters. So if I hold the button, it'll immediately set it to the exact distance that they're at, making it so that it is now essentially hit scan. But oh, does it get better than this? Because if you go into your settings, there's two different ways you can do this. If you go to your controller and then go to your settings and then go to mapping. So if you go to weapons and equipment, you can actually set what button is used for your rangefinder. Now there's two ways to do this. One, you can set it to your trigger that you use to aim down sights. So if I do this, when I aim down sights at this person, it'll zero to the exact distance, 142 meters, and then I can shoot them, hit scan every single time. Now, there is one that is better than this, and in my opinion, basically a cheat code. And that is if you switch that button to change your range distance instead of your aim down sights button, but rather your fire button. So now, no matter how far you are away, if you are on target and you pull the trigger, your scope is going to be zeroed on that exact person, no matter how far they are. The one thing you still have to do is lead your bullet if they are moving, however. But all in all, it makes doing this really, really easy. Did you see how that icon right there is see-through, not a solid diamond above their head? That means I can only see that spot. Now, this happens when you're within 25 meters. However, if you see that spot, which is the solid diamond above their head, that means it's being shown to my whole team as well, because I am spotting that enemy. But there's a couple ways that I can do this. If I look at someone, right now I'm playing recon. So because I'm playing recon, it will spot them automatically. However, if I'm not, if I hard ping them by pressing Q or the ping button, which is left bumper for me on controller, it will ping them and show up for my team as well, which you can get assists for that. Now here's the thing. If I spot someone, so any of these guys, let's say I spot all of them, it will stay highlighted as long as they are within my line of sight. The second I break it, it disappears. So as you can see, I'm spotted that person, break the line of sight, it disappears. But for 5 seconds after they are pinged, even if they go in and out, they will remain spotted for 5 seconds. However, where this is powerful is that if I spot an enemy, or any of these enemies, have a look at the mini-map even if I break line of sight. Yes, they may not be in my screen, but they are on the mini-map. So then the other thing that makes you seen on the mini-map is the muzzle that you're using. So if you're firing a weapon with no muzzle, you're just going to appear on the mini-map no matter what. Now, if you're using the brake, either of them, or the converter, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to appear on the minimap. Then with the flash hider, this one, you will appear on the minimap, but it will not ping you if you're within someone's line of sight. And then the suppressors, all of the suppressors do the exact same thing, is that if you're within 15 meters of someone, you will appear on the minimap, but never pinged. However, if you're outside of that 15 meters, you won't appear on the minimap. Now, this is why you should make your minimap bigger. That way you can see when anyone's firing their weapon outside of 15 meters at all times on your minimap. Now that we've zoomed out our minimap and we can see more of the area, just take a quick look at some of the dots. So the one on the right-hand side there, we can see that it has an up arrow. The up arrow means that they are in elevation above me. If there is no arrow, that means that they are firing their weapon on the same level as me. And if there is a down arrow, it means they are firing their weapon below me. This is especially helpful in maps with multi-levels. Maybe you're in a 3-level building or something like that, but just an easier way of reading the minimap. So the next thing is Sniper Glint. Now, this is the exclusive Aces footage. He did a great job of putting this video together on Sniper Glint. In fact, he's done a great job of covering the launch of Battlefield 6, so be sure to check out his channel. But what he shows here is that Sniper Glint doesn't start until 25 meters, and then the further you get away from that sniper rifle, the brighter the Sniper Glint is. So that's how it works, but there's a couple other things you need to know. Each sniper has its own sweet spot. If you see this kind of flare of light coming out of the Sniper Glint, that means you are in the sniper sweet spot, which for the main sniper goes to about 75 meters, which means if they shoot you in the upper chest, it's going to be a one-hit kill, not just the head. So in other words, if you see that, don't let them look at you anymore. Now, what about when you're looking at the sniper? Well, as it turns out, the Sniper Glint starts by looking at someone by about 15 degrees, and the closer you get to looking at them, the more the glint actually disappears. This makes it easier for you to aim at them when you're looking directly at them, so the Sniper Glint doesn't completely blind you. Now, as it turns out, there are no sniper scopes that get rid of the glint. Even a red dot provides sniper glint. The only thing that doesn't is using iron sights. That's it. And no matter what the scope is, it doesn't change the ranges to where the sniper glint kicks in, nor does it change the brightness or size of that sniper glint either. However, you'll be happy to know that if you are a DMR player, DMRs do not have any sniper glint, no matter what type of optic you are actually using. All right, so one thing that we haven't talked about yet is suppression and suppressing fire and how that works. So what suppressing fire is say, for example, I shoot at this person here, I hit them, and then I shoot around them. I will have a pop-up that eventually comes up that says enemy suppression. You can see it down there. Now, what does that actually do? Unlike previous Battlefield games, it might mess up your view, it might give you more recoil, it might make you take longer to reload, a bunch of other things. In this game, it just stops you from healing. Now, how do we suppress someone? Now, there's a couple keys to this. Number one, you have to damage them, or a teammate has to damage them. Then you just have to shoot around their general vicinity. Because it has to do with stopping the enemies from healing, what this means is that they first have to be damaged in order for you to suppress them. So if you're shooting around enemies and you're not getting enemy suppression and you're trying to complete that challenge, that is why. They first have to be damaged from either you or a teammate. So what exactly does this suppression do? So as you can see, once I get that enemy suppression that pops up right there, what that does is when an enemy starts to heal, it takes 5 seconds after taking damage to start healing. When I suppress an enemy, it restarts that 5-second timer. So if I shoot around someone and get suppression, every 4.5 seconds, they will still never heal. So do you see that little icon that keeps popping up on my screen? That little angled little icon whenever I get shot at? That means I'm being suppressed. That is why my health has not gone up yet in the bottom left-hand corner. Because I keep getting shot at, even though there's big gaps in between and I haven't actually been shot in a long time. That's what it looks like. So what is the exact numbers here? How do you cause this suppression? Well, after they take damage, as long as you are shooting within 5 meters of them, even if they're behind cover, it will suppress them. So I find it easier to do this, by the way, if you're going for the challenge, if you're above an enemy. It just makes shooting within that 5 meters that much easier. Also, if you're going for the challenge, don't kill them. Just shoot around them. As you can see, even though I shot around them, but because I killed them, I didn't get the suppression. So let's talk about winning some gunfights. The first biggest tip you can get into while using weapons in this game is not knowing how bloom works. And the most important thing with bloom is if you're moving, you shoot, you're gonna have bloom and your bullets are gonna go all over the place. The second thing, if you're in a longer range gunfight, burst fire. Burst fire is your friend. It's gonna allow you to stay on target. If you hold down the trigger, bullets are also going to go everywhere. Now, there are a couple of other things you can do to reduce bloom further, and that is either crouching or laying down. And in doing so, this is going to allow your bullets to be more accurate, as well as making you not have to burst fire quite as much. So another big difference between Battlefield and, say, for example, Call of Duty is where your bullets come from. So if I am aiming here and I'm trying to shoot someone who's right behind this car, you may notice that the bullet just hits the car in front of me. In other words, I have to aim well above the car in order to get my bullets over it. So that's head glitching in Call of Duty. The reason why this doesn't work in this game is because your bullets come out of your weapon, not out of your head like they do in Call of Duty. So say you're being suppressed or you've taken damage, the real way of getting your health back is throwing down a med bag as a support, and you get your health back faster that way. You don't have to wait the 5 seconds. That's why I traditionally play support more often. Now, there is one other use of this supply bag. Say, for example, I have thrown down my piece of equipment. It recharges over time, but it takes a long time. So the way to actually do it is throw down a med bag, and you have to stay in the vicinity of that med bag, and it will actually fully recharge that piece of equipment so that you can throw another one down over and over. And that's pretty much the only way you can re-get your gadgets over and over again, is using these med bags. I know I've given you a lot of tips on how to get score or XP or everything else the fastest, but really the number one way is just playing the objective. Basically, every second you're on an objective, you will be getting XP and score. You'll see as soon as I get revived here, if I don't die right away. Capturing, I get 50 score over and over and over again, pretty much every second. And then points for actually finally capturing it as well. This also levels up your weapons faster as well, because it gives you bonus XP for your weapon when you get kills while playing an objective. As you level up your weapons, like we were just talking about, you're going to want to use better attachments. So what are those better attachments? Well, for me, the ones that made the most difference were recoil attachments. Now, the thing that you should know starting out is that there is actually less recoil on controller than there is on mouse and keyboard. Now, this is normal for Battlefield, but just keep that in mind as we go through. Now, the first thing that you can adjust to change your recoil is the muzzle. Now, as far as what I believe the best muzzle to be, the compensated brake is going to affect both your horizontal and vertical recoil, whereas the rest are essentially just horizontal. For the biggest horizontal reduction, you want the converter. If you want vertical and horizontal, you want the brake. So as far as underbarrels, these are either going to apply to your mobility of your weapon or essentially your vertical recoil reduction. This won't affect your horizontal recoil. And basically, the more you go up, the higher percentage of recoil reduction. This one, the classical vertical, reduces it by about 25 to 30%, whereas this one is about 10 to 15. So you basically increase by about 5% as you go up. So by every point, so depending on how much recoil you want reduced, those are the ones you're going to want to use. Now, while we're talking about loadouts, let's move on to one of our final topics, and that is vehicles. Now, if you haven't checked through these menus, you wouldn't know vehicles actually have loadouts too, and as you level up vehicles, you will also get additional pieces of equipment for them. For example, if we go to the tank here, there's different types of weapons. So your primary weapon, your alternate ammo, your secondary, your equipment, which this one's actually one of the most important. So first of all, you have thermal blocking. So if you have this one, it will basically act as a block for anything that is locked onto you. So if you're painted and someone locks onto you, you can pop this and it will stop. Projectile intercept, this one basically just makes it so that if someone shoots you during this time, you don't take any damage. So if you've ever got like this blue hit marker while you've been shooting at a tank, it's because they pop this. So wait a bit, then shoot them more. And then emergency repairs basically auto repairs you at the time of taking damage. You can also get enhanced reloading, optimized handling to make it easier for you to actually pilot this vehicle. Another thing that's really good that to note is your gunner seat. So these have infinite ammo, but they overheat. When you unlock the grenade launcher, there's infinite grenades on this thing, and it reloads incredibly quickly. It's one of the best items you can get. So then we get to air vehicles. So for the helicopter, you've got flares. It's important to note that if someone locks onto you, it's going to make a noise, but do not pop your flares until the last possible moment when it says missile incoming. This will then not waste your flares and will actually do something. A lot of the time when I was locking on to enemy helicopters, they would pop their flares immediately as I locked on. I just had to wait a couple seconds and then shoot them, and I would end up hitting them. The same goes with flying the jets. The one thing that you probably want to know is back at your spawn, there is going to be a kind of refueling depot. And if you run out of ammo for your helicopter or for your plane, you're going to want to fly back to your team's side and essentially recuperate that ammo that you have already spent. Also, if you've taken any damage, it will immediately heal your vehicle as well. For the last 5 tips of this video, I wanted to just talk about ways that you can enjoy this game more and therefore in turn do better at it as well. And the first is play your role. Right now, I'm a medic. My job is healing people and or reviving people. My job isn't necessarily taking out that tank right there. This plays into my next tip, which is be patient. Part of my job can be right now just having my squad spawn on me. My job's a medic, I heal. I also have med bags where you can heal back up as well. Tanks? That's not for me. That's the engineer's job. Also, with patience, the other part of it is don't necessarily just skip your revive right away. Call for help, request to be healed. Yeah, you might not get it every single time, but guess what? It takes the same amount of time to respawn anyway, so you might as well wait for your team. The next thing is PTFO, or play the frickin' objective. Now, this will actually make this game more fun to you. Battlefield isn't a game about going on ridiculously long score streaks, getting streaks, or anything of the sort. It's about winning the game, and the best way to do that is play the objective, which plays into the next point of picking the right mode for you. If you do not like playing Conquest, do not play Conquest. There's different modes for different reasons. They feel different. The spawns work different. The teamwork is different. And you should play the one that you enjoy the most. And if you don't like playing vehicles, guess what? There's small team modes as well, where it's infantry only. I need to revive those people up there. And the last thing that I've figured out from Battlefield 6 is this isn't a game about getting ridiculous stats, going on ridiculous streets, or playing ranked. And yeah, what I found is going for wins makes me have a lot more fun playing this game. And that's, I guess, it. Have fun playing the game. Don't stress out. Be a team player. This, to me, isn't a ranked shooter, an arcade shooter. This is a sandbox shooter, which might be different than anything you played before. And yeah, the better you do, the more fun you'll have. But guess what? There's a lot of different things you can do. If you're bad at aiming a gun, maybe you're good at flying a helicopter. Maybe you're good at using a tank. Maybe you're good at just shooting tanks with explosives. Do what you're good at and have fun doing it. And that's essentially 101 tips to be better at Battlefield 6 immediately. Hopefully I was able to help you out, and if I did, I'd love it if you could hit that like button. This video took a lot of effort, and I would really appreciate that. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.